Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning, live edition, Wednesday edition of Matthews in the Morning, coming to you from the International Diamond Center Studios, locations across the state of Florida, right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. Go check them out, International Diamond Center. Also, Comfort Temp Heating Air is your number one local HVAC company, offering $1,000 off new installation units and 10% off additional services through September. Visit us at comforttemp.com. We got a good show lined up. We'll have JC. We'll have Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports talking about Gators and anything else you want to talk about. Let's go to the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Hey, good. Yeah, doing great. Wednesday, middle of the week of the open date. I think it's a well-timed open date for this program. I don't know what they can accomplish though, but I know one thing that's not going to happen, and that's going to be we will not watch the football team lose a football game this weekend. So there is a tremendous amount of games this weekend. I was just going through the schedule. We have, of course, the Ryder Cup, the golf. It's an all-timer really for viewing for people like you and I. You know, we start at 7:00 with the Ryder Cup. We go into the noon games. USC and Illinois is the game I'm looking at. We go into the 3:30 window. You've got Louisiana State and Mississippi. You got Auburn, Texas A&M. Ohio State plays out in Washington. Could be interesting there. And Indiana, this beautiful hat I'm wearing, is playing the Iowa Hawkeyes. I love what Kirk Benny said about Indiana's game with Iowa. He said, well, it probably will be a lot tougher than who we just played. I mean, he's just slamming Brett Bielema. You got Oregon and Penn State at 7:30, and then, of course, the game in Athens, Georgia, between Alabama and Georgia. All kinds of Ryder Cup. You got Notre Dame and Arkansas back at noon. Tennessee is playing Mississippi State. It's just going to be unbelievable, really. So I think it's the greatest tremendous
college weekend I could think of.
It's good. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to physically sit somewhere for 12 hours straight, but I'll get up and move around. It's just I'm going to get all three of those TVs burning pretty hot on Saturday for sure, bro.
Yeah. It's on paper, it looks like the best college weekend I can ever think of.
And then golf.
A couple of tech.
With the golf.
Yeah, in golf. Yep. JC, I wanted to get your thoughts before we move into football. I don't know if we talked about this Monday or not. Okay. First of all, the Europeans are playing for free.
Yeah.
The Americans are being paid $500,000 each. $300 goes, I think, to charity. $200 to themselves.
Yeah.
A, what are your thoughts on that? B, is who the hell is paying this money? Is it coming from TV? Who's paying it?
I think it comes from the PGA of America. I think that's right, but I think this too. If I'm a guy who's playing for money in the Ryder Cup, then I'm missing the point. I don't think the Ryder Cup should be about money. It shouldn't be about the times that we live in today. I think that's what Keegan Bradley tried to shove off. I don't think these guys need that money. I applaud some of them for giving it to all of their money, the money that's going to be given to them, to charity. I think Bryson DeChambeau is going to be giving him the entire $500,000. And if you really want to make me happy about you, you go ahead and give all that money that you are being given to charity, and then throw in another $500,000 out of your Bank of America account to match it. Then I would be really impressed, because I think the Ryder Cup should not be about anything having to do with money, and it should be probably, for the love of the game, for the love of country, for the love of team, for the love of your fellow teammate, and that type of thing. That's what the Ryder Cup is about. The fact that these guys are actually pocketing $200,000, if they don't give it away, I don't respect that. And I think the Europeans have the right attitude. QB, for this golf tournament, the Europeans are treating it like a business trip. They showed up at the castle last night in Sands Point, New York, in Hempstead, in a well-dressed attire, looking proper, looking good. The American team shows up in tennis shoes and open neck shirts. It's a disgrace. I think some things have to be held formal, and this is that type of thing. And I think it's a disgrace. I got to be honest with you, QB. It wouldn't break my heart if European won, if the Euros won. I mean, they take this differently. I'm going to take them plus 150 on the money line. Those are good odds. I'm getting 50 cents on the dollar if they win. If they tie it 14-14, I get 13-1 odds. And frankly, this is not about patriotism anymore if these guys are getting paid. So the way I look at it is that I think it's a joke. It's a disgrace. And, it just kind of turns me off, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is interesting. Moving on to football.
Tennis shoes and open
JC, my Oklahoma Sooner pick ain't looking real good right now.
QB, I have him at 17-1. It's breaking my heart about John Mateer. This guy played 3/4 of that game against Auburn with a broken bone in his hand. And he is such a gamer and such a competitor, but he's going to be missing for the next 4 weeks, the next month.
I bet he is back within 2 weeks.
Okay, well, that would work out well for them.
I'm just going on a limb here because
broken bone.
I don't know who they play this week.
Okay, they're open.
But
they got Kent State. Then they got Texas. Then they've got they've got open date. They've got Kent State. They've got Texas, and then they've got another toughie. So I think it's all.
So basically, he had the surgery today, I think.
Yeah.
They're open this week?
Yes.
Then they play Kent State.
Yes.
So you're looking at, about 10 days and then another 4 or 5 days before they kick off against the Longhorns. So you're looking at about 15 days. Is it his thumb? Did they say exactly what it was?
No, but it is on his throwing hand. It's his right hand. They've got Texas, and then they've got South Carolina, and then they come back on October 25th against Ole Miss. I'm going to bet that he might be back by October 25th against Ole Miss. They're saying a month, QB. So that would be exactly a month.
Yeah.
That would be a month. And, look, if you lose to Texas and beat South Carolina, I look at that kid,
the way he competes his ass off.
You like him.
It would not surprise me if he plays against the Longhorns. Now, if it's his thumb,
no,
that's an issue because that's the bottom part of your grip.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're sitting here speculating. We don't even know what's broken. So,
it's his right
anyway, I hope he heals very quickly because he was my Heisman pick.
No, I don't.
He still can win the Heisman.
I'll tell you. Let me give you a name about the Heisman. If you want to get some long odds on the Heisman with a lot of opportunity going forward, I mean long odds, but I think a real player is the guy who represents the hat I'm wearing right now, and that's Mendoza at Indiana. They have a lot of big opportunities coming up, the Hoosiers do, including this weekend against Iowa. So you can get 50-1 on Mendoza. I think he's a very good player. I think we saw that this past weekend against Illinois. And, that's how you do this. If you want value, you go with some long odds and hope this guy just does something we didn't expect to see. And if that happens, you're going to be in the money. But Mateer was the guy. It's just that now with potentially 4 games missing, he will not win the Heisman. But he will have an opportunity if Oklahoma can beat one of the either Texas or South Carolina teams and stay in the SEC race.
Do you know where Mendoza played last year, JC?
No, tell me.
Cal.
Yeah, that's right. He sure did. I do.
He's actually from the state of Florida, and his little brother's the backup quarterback.
Wow. Well, listen.
Who played the other night? They both played against Illinois. So
yeah.
All right. So JC, listen to these things I screenshot off of Twitter. I thought they were fascinating. The most explosive plays in the national rankings through 4 weeks of college football, which I don't know who this is from, but they say this 20-plus yards are explosive plays. Just the SEC teams.
Okay.
Where do you think the Gators rank in America?
I would say,
or even in the conference.
Well, in the conference, I got them at 16.
No, they're 14th.
Okay, close to
at 101. How about Georgia is at 101 in explosive plays?
That surprises me.
That surprises me. Who do you think's the number one team in America? The number one team in the Southeastern Conference in explosive plays.
Let me go with somebody like, let me say somebody like Tennessee or Mississippi, somebody like that.
The Black Bears of Mississippi.
Okay, Mississippi is 4-0, baby. Mississippi, man, I tell you, this guy, you love him. I know you want him to be the Florida coach. I mean, it's so hard to talk about the next coach when we've got so many games remaining. You know, it's so hard for me.
Very true.
Think about this: the remaining opponent's record. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 remaining opponents on the schedule, and their record is such that they have as many losses combined as Florida does already. Texas is 3-1, A&M is 3-0, State is 4-0, Georgia 3-0, Kentucky 2-1, Mississippi 4-0, Tennessee 3-1, and Florida State 3-0. Man, damn. Yeah, I know we didn't try to make a big deal out of the schedule. We kind of blew it off before the year. I mean, I was worried about it, but you seem to be like, whatever, we got to play it anyway, and it's true.
Well, you got to go play it. I mean, what do you got to do, bitch? You complain?
No, but I mean, there's no favors being done by the SEC. Now, I will say, I did think. Now, tell me what your opinion was of the schedule release. Okay, so Florida loses Tennessee and LSU, but man, I would trade them for Kentucky and South Carolina every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So,
you know what I'm so fired up about next year, JC?
Going to Auburn.
We go to Auburn.
Going to Auburn.
I love that place. I love going there. I have been there. I've been there. I haven't been there since I played there, but I took my son there for a one-day camp. Probably in 2016 or 17. Right. Freaking loved it. So I'm so excited to go back.
And then Alabama. The following year we got Oklahoma for the first time ever coming to, or is that next year? Is that next year?
Oklahoma comes to us the following year, I believe.
Okay, well,
I'm ready to go out there too.
Yeah, man. So it's really exciting. I love this 9-game schedule. It's so much better. It's going to be tough, but hey, listen, man. An SEC team playing a 9-game schedule easily enters the college football playoff, whether they win the conference or not, with 2 or 3 losses, in my opinion, going through that meat grinder. Nobody can compare to it. And the thing is that you get to play these teams now at least once every 2 years in the conference. Now we have a real conference and not just an association. I think it's great. I think Auburn was definitely needed to get back on schedule. I'm not going to miss. Tennessee and LSU, listen, everybody says, well, we're just had a 36-year history with Tennessee and all this. You're still going to play them, man. You're still going to play Tennessee. You're still going to play LSU. I looked at the schedule next year. It's very familiar, but you get to go to a place like Auburn, Alabama. This year you're going to Mississippi to play in Oxford. So these are things that needed to happen. I'm glad they did. I think it's going to make the conference better. Obviously, the team's resumes are going to be better with these games. And I think every team in this league on any given Saturday, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3, can beat anybody, either one of them. And the NIL is making that happen. The transfer portal, I should say, is allowing that parity to become reality. That's the truth, and that's what we got. Football.
Let me. Speaking of that, Silverback Concrete builds firm foundation for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. We got JC on the Titan More Highline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. 2 more things. One is regarding the transfer portal that I screenshot. JC, the SEC schools with 41 or more wins since 2021. Give me the top 3.
Alabama, Georgia, and I'm going to say Mississippi again.
Exactly.
How about that? Oh, my God.
Yep.
I mean, Lane Kiffin is a hell of a football coach, doing it in a place that never happened before. And I just think if you
hang on a second. They had a lot of those mythical national championships back in the 60s when my dad played, like Alabama claims them. The top 7 transfer portal classes in college football, JC, the top 7 are 27-0 right now.
Yeah.
So here are your top 7 transfer portal schools. And I don't really know what it's based off of, quite honestly. I don't know if it's how many kids they sign, how much money, or what. Here they are. LSU, Texas Tech, Miami, Ole Miss, Oregon, Missouri, and Florida State.
Wow. Parity. It's creating parity. And it's going to, I think, be a very good thing for college football. I know we raise hell about the way college football is today, but it's the new world, and the new world order is going to allow for more participation. If that's what everybody wanted, that's what they're going to get. Remember, we used to bemoan the fact that maybe 2, 4, 6, 8 schools at most would be competing for championships, and that really wasn't good for the game, but that was the reality. Now it's different, and now everybody's competing on the same playing field, basically. Look at that stadium they had. They had 57,000 fans in Indiana for the game against Illinois last week, and that is a massive turnout for a football program that hardly ever saw that. You had a Nebraska game against Michigan. Now, they can't beat anybody, Nebraska, but they have a stadium that has been so well redone and refit. It's so much better than what they have at Ohio State. At Ohio State, you have no chairback seats, basically. You're sitting on benches at the old Horseshoe. And so, it really does bring out better opportunities for so many other places. And so, to me, I know people complain about the NIL, and it's true, it's out of control. But the transfer portal, if they can get some control of it and maybe reduce it to once per year, whatever it takes to get it a little bit more stable, I think is going to end up making college football a lot more even across the board, if that indeed is what they tried to do. I don't know. I think that's what's happening.
Facebook Live brought to you by Mellow Law. Andy says Shane Big Dez got added to the Bucks practice squad. Do you think he gets activated to defend the tush push versus the Eagles on Sunday? I do not. I do not. Let's hope Dez can stay on the practice squad. Then John asked on Facebook Live, he says, how surprised are y'all that Oklahoma State fired Mike Gundy after 21 years, probably the school's best coach? JC, I'm not surprised because that's just how the world is today.
Yeah.
But was it 3 or 4 years ago they were like 1 inch away from playing in the playoffs? Remember that?
Yes,
remember that goal line stand at Baylor? The kid was running the sweep or bounce it outside towards the pylon. Wasn't that like 3 or 4 years ago that they would have been in the playoffs?
Oklahoma State in his tenure had 2 or 3 times where they could have actually played for a championship. One year was also when they played Iowa State. They needed to win, and there was a tragedy with their one of their, I think, non-revenue sports teams had a plane crash or something happened, and they were dealing with that on their campus. But then they played Iowa State and lost, and that allowed Alabama to slip into the game during the old BCS time. But Oklahoma State was going to be that team. So he's had some really great teams, but he's also had some real head scratchers. And I think it just became time where the Oklahoma State fan base just kind of got tired of it. After 20-something years, they were ready for a new look, and they will get that now because they were they're an embarrassment right now.
Didn't T. Boone Pickens pass away recently?
No, he passed away. It was a while back, but he did pass away. He was the major benefactor of that program, and he really poured a lot of money into it. T. Boone Pickens Stadium, of course, they closed in the end zone. They really did a lot of great things for that program. And it's not a dead program, but what really hurt it was when Oklahoma left and went to the SEC, because that was kind of like their twin brother. They needed that Oklahoma. They needed to follow Oklahoma, and instead the SEC took Texas and Oklahoma. But remember this, folks, everybody wants to yell about the SEC this, the SEC that. Oklahoma and Texas picked up the phone and called. Okay, it wasn't Greg Sankey soliciting them. They came because they wanted to come. They called first. I truly believe that. I think that is factually correct. And the SEC was, of course, willing to take them in. And then we had this whole landscape of change. And, of course, it ruined the Pac-12 because there were a bunch of greedy fools out there in the West with a bunch of presidents that didn't know what their valuation was. And when ABC said, here's $50 million, they said, no, that's not enough. And then ABC decided to leave the room, and the Pac-12 disappeared. And so this is how we do it. We have decision makers in college football that make good decisions. We have decision makers in college football that make lousy decisions. And right now, I wish the decision makers around here would figure it out at Florida.
Text on the Titan and Mark text line from Daryl says, good morning, guys. Glad Florida's going to Auburn next year. Shane, I've got the Rebels beating LSU. Is Ole Miss defense any better this year? I don't think it is. But I just think they can score with anybody in America.
They're going LSU.
LSU's offense is going to score some points this week just because of the style of play Ole Miss plays.
Well, they have a good defense.
But I still think – who?
LSU. Aren't they pretty good?
Well, my eyes tell me they aren't.
Okay.
I can be proven wrong this week, but here's JC. They've played Southeast Louisiana, Louisiana Tech, Florida, and Clemson, and they've given up. They're averaging giving up 10 points a game. Looks great on paper, but I just think Ole Miss's offense is just too explosive for them, and Lane they'll be scheming up a lot of stuff against them.
Well, I would tend to agree that Mississippi's the pick there. They are a 1.5 point favorite. The total is 54.5. Game's at 3:30, so Lane's happy that all his fans are going to have time to enjoy the pregame festivities. I mean, what a weekend, dude. Auburn is a team that impressed me probably the most last weekend in a loss, but they are going to have to now turn around and go to Texas A&M, who's coming off an open date. Not easy. Tough schedule there for Auburn. Tennessee and Mississippi State looks very interesting to me, QB. Although Mississippi State's 4-0, it would not surprise me to see Tennessee beat them by 3-4 touchdowns. And then Alabama, Georgia at night. And until I am convinced that Alabama can stop somebody on third down and not allow a team to run right through the front seven, how can you pick against Georgia in this game? So both teams had open dates. I think Ty Simpson will do good things. I think Gunnar Stockton will do good things. I have a hard time seeing Alabama's defense stopping Georgia. So that's the way it looks. Oh, and then Notre Dame and Arkansas. We have two friends that are going to be at that game. And it's a noon kickoff, which means it's an 11 a.m. kickoff. Arkansas is coming off a really bad loss to Memphis State. I think Notre Dame figured out some things against Purdue. I think Notre Dame's going to handle Arkansas on that one.
Well, Arkansas is going to score at will.
I hope so.
It's going to be a shootout.
Think so? 64.5? You're going to go over that?
Dude, Arkansas's offense is ridiculous, and I still to this point cannot figure out why they handed the ball off to the damn running back.
I know.
When you had basically an extra point to win the game. So we're not the only ones that make mistakes on the sidelines, right, JC?
Right.
It's all across every level of football.
But it's great to make a mistake when you've already scored 30-something points and you're not sitting there with 100 yards of total offense in the fourth quarter.
I hear you, but hell, they still lost the game.
No, you're right.
They had the game won.
No, you're right.
They had the game won.
You're right. And, we completely dismiss the fact that Florida's defense is playing at a high level right now and really keeping them in the games. They just ran out of gas the other night, but they've played all they can. They've done all they can to help this team try to win games. They have. And I loved what Coach Spurrier said on Pat Dooley's podcast yesterday. He said, maybe we got to figure out the way the defense can score some points if we're going to score some points. I mean, it's a true thing, isn't it? I mean, my goodness, they have played their hearts out. So you have to give them a thumbs up on that side of the football because that's one position. That's one area where we always complained about. At least we had good reason to. And now we finally see some guys hitting people.
Yeah, they've played well.
Even without Caleb Banks, in the game, they still played their asses off. Miami just wears you out. They are so physical, so big, and that game with Florida State's going to be unbelievable.
Greg on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, says, "Is it a rumor that Jones will start at QB for Florida because of DJ's injuries?" That's a rumor out there. There's rumors that DJ's going to redshirt. Who knows what to believe? I would not worry about it till you actually see what happens. And then we'll talk about the Texas game starting next week.
This may not be a popular take, QB, as far as DJ goes, and I'm glad you brought him up, but here's my solution to DJ's problems. I would go ahead and save this year of eligibility. Just go ahead and redshirt. Go ahead and transfer to Western Carolina and learn how to play the position with a coach that knows what he's doing. If he can do that and maybe lose 35 pounds, all of those things, if they happen, gives that kid a chance, because in the current state that he's in right now, he has zero chance of success, in my opinion. You go ahead and just save this year of eligibility. I'm going to repeat it. Go ahead and transfer in the portal to Western Carolina. Go learn how to play the position under a coach.
They don't have any money there, JC.
Well, he's got enough damn money, this guy. How much more money does he need? He hasn't done anything to deserve the money, but he's got it anyway. Let him go to Western Carolina. Let Kerwin Bell show him how to play the damn position, and then play a season for them, and then transfer to Missouri and go play for Eli. But that's how you set. And then if you do that and you lose 25 to 30 pounds, you may have a chance to actually play the position one day, because right now you are a non-factor. That's what you do. You've got money, you've got property, you've got everything you need, more than what most people in this county have. Go ahead and learn the position of quarterback, lose some weight, and take a year off and get healthy. Get that surgery done if you have to get it, but take a year off. Kerwin would love to see you up there. I'm guaranteeing you he would make him a project and help him out.
Kerwin's kid that was a freshman of the year last year, All-American, is back. They put 50 up. Kerwin says he's the best thrower he's ever coached or seen.
There you go.
He's only he's a 5'11" kid from Miami Northwestern.
Yeah.
So he's got his quarterback unless he loses them to a Power 4.
Well, the point is go to FCS school and learn how to play the quarterback position before you jump back into Division I, and then you can be ready to go back and play for a coach that knows what he's doing at the quarterback position, and maybe you'll have a chance at a career in this. If not, be happy. Give me the money you've been given so that I can secure your future at Cornerstone Financial Group, and I'll take it from there. And DJ will be a happy guy. I will take care of it. There you go. I got the plan for the man. I've got his plan.
You do.
He's got to take the year off and get healthy, and he's got to lose some weight, because we are just pissing in the wind right now with this system. That's all we're doing.
Real quick, couple of things before we get you out of here. Andy asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel. How do I think Jackson Dart will do in his first start versus the Chargers on Sunday? Look, here's what I say about Jackson Dart. I don't know how it's going to play. Or
Jackson Dart.
Here's the thing about Jackson Dart. He knows how to play quarterback, and he freaking competes his tail off. That's all I need out of a quarterback.
Yeah.
All right. Silent J on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, Shane, in your opinion, what's the difference of Kiffin and Mullen? I'm all in on Lane, but neither seems to place an emphasis on defense. What do you think, JC?
Well, I think one of the things that Mullen, with the exception of Kyle Trask, he liked those running quarterbacks, those big guys. Lane Kiffin, to me, is more of the traditional pocket type of offensive play, quarterback play call. I like Lane's traditional way of running the offense in many cases, whereas Dan Mullen, I think, always wanted that big 6'6" guy that could run the ball and throw it from time to time. And I think with Kyle Trask, he didn't run it much, but he was a big body. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm off on this, but to me, Kiffin can instruct the position and do a little bit better. But I think Mullen's very good. I just think Kiffin's more of the kind of guy.
Regardless, I know people, we were not very good defensively against Mullen. I don't think we had very good defensive players, first of all. But I would rather be much worse on defense than offense.
Well, yeah. But listen, Mississippi had a pretty darn good defense.
They were very good on defense last year.
Yes, they were. Yeah. And I know they lost to the Gators. They gave the ball away too. But and they did that against Kentucky as well when they lost. But Mississippi, for what they are, for the size of, for the program that they are, is being so well represented on Saturdays with this leadership and this staff and this coach. And Dan Mullen's had success in Mississippi. For 9 years, he coached Mississippi State, and at one point in 2014, they were the number one team in the country, and they were deserving of that because they were kicking everybody's tail in 2014. I saw it. I was there. I was a Bulldog Club member. I watched it. But, it takes time in those places, or it did back in those days. And Dan Mullen was able to win at Mississippi State because the expectation level wasn't more than 8 wins anyway. So I don't know. I think Kiffin he's very comfortable where he is. I'm pretty sure it's going to take a big effort to try to convince him to leave there, but we'll see.
All right. Last text on the Titan Mark text line from James. He says, have you guys heard the rumor that DJ in his contract says he cannot be replaced as quarterback? I've heard people talk about that. I don't know. I don't know how these NIL deals are set up.
Anybody who
Billy has said multiple. What's that?
I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just saying we don't know how these NIL deals are done. Billy has said publicly in his pressers that that DJ is the quarterback. He's not going to make a change.
Then he's going to lose.
But
here's the thing, QB. Anybody who writes that into a college football player's contract should be excoriated, and any coach who allows that to happen should be excoriated. There is no way in hell you guarantee a college football player time to play. This is not about the parents demanding what Pee Wee League football player gets to play the position of quarterback and date the cheerleader. This is about wins and losses. It's results driven. And DJ Lagway, I just gave you the path for him. If he follows up, takes the year off, gets healthy, loses weight, goes to some small school to learn the position of quarterback, and then after a year of playing at school, transfers to a Division I, might have a chance. But he's got a long way to go. He needs to get these injuries taken care of. He needs to lose some damn weight. If he does that, and then he needs to give me his money, and I will manage it for him in case he doesn't get a lot of NIL money going forward. If all that happens, then he's got a chance to be a quarterback in the future. Otherwise, we're just watching dead money. That's what I call it.
Yeah. All right, JC.
All right, brother.
Have a good day.
Have a good trip. We'll see you Friday.
We're gonna go talk to Graham Hall about the Gators. Have a good day. That's JC joins us on the Titan Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Quick timeout. Come back. Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, to join the program. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Naysayers. Setbacks. Injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Coach, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Linderos Tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Linderos Tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Linderos Tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Linderos.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Gallo Car Wash is locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Locations on Northwest 13th Street, Wilson Road, and coming soon to Jonesville. Let's go back to the Titan Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by 247 Graham Hall. How you doing, my man?
Doing great. Enjoying the bye week. It's always a fun time.
Yeah, but it never slows down, Graham. There's always issues in the Gator Nation, right? All right, let's just start. The reports came out, I guess, Monday. DJ's in a boot. What do you know about the boot?
Well, I was told from several people that this is purely precautionary. I've seen we're in an era where people are going to have rampant speculation and try and make everything a conspiracy in a sense. And people are saying, oh, it means he's opting out, redshirting. Doesn't, that conflicts with everything I've heard. He intends to play against Texas. He got stepped on, I believe, on his toe against Miami. This is not a re-aggravation necessarily of the calf injury. He's in it purely for precautionary reasons, and whether that will impact his practice time, I think we'll get a better idea of that maybe in a couple hours here, where Billy Napier does his lone media appearance of the week when he speaks on the SEC teleconference at 11:20 a.m. But he's going to push back on the notion that DJ is unhealthy, that this is a significant concern. Pretty much everything the messaging has been from Billy Napier regarding DJ Lagway is that the guy is okay, his health is okay, and whether or not this is a minor, or I'd be surprised if it's considered a major setback. It is interesting whether it's going to impact his practice time, because we all know out there that he needs as much of it as he can get. But this is not a major injury from everything that I've heard. It did take a few people by surprise because he was observed in the boot, not at the Florida football facility, but at a charity event on Monday. So this is not something, though, that is of significant concern. But of course, it only led to additional speculation regarding his availability moving forward with the 4-game redshirt rule and a transfer and all that stuff. And I just want to push back that it is not anything that I have heard that's valid right now. I mean, I can't say 100% it can't happen, but it conflicts with what I've heard.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, during basketball season last year, I want to say damn Will Richard was in a boot every day between games. And then, just because he had, I don't know if it was an ankle or what kind of foot injury, but he ended up playing every game as well. This is just what doctors do at sometimes, just to take some of the pressure off when you're walking around or whatever. So we'll see what happens. Graham, just what on the injury front? Obviously, I believe Dejon Johnson is having ACL surgery. Is that correct?
He's having meniscus surgery. He's
okay.
Out. Yeah, it's not as significant as ACL. That's maybe what Billy Napier was referring to when he said after the game that they think they got out okay with some of these. That's obviously still a significant injury, but it's not a torn ACL, is what I understand.
Who was the other player? Had a shoulder injury, I believe. I'm trying to remember because he went right underneath the tunnel, right where our box was.
Yeah, Aaron Gates.
Yes,
suffered
What's
a left
status on
shoulder injury. I don't have an update on him. He was in a sling after the game. He has not had surgery. I don't know if he will. That could be something where it was dislocated and they were able to pop it back, and maybe they're going to reevaluate him when the soreness and the swelling goes down. Good time for that to happen during the bye week, but another injury certainly for Florida to monitor. And then maybe the most significant, which we're still working to get information on, is Brendan Bett. He injured. It looked like his knee late in the game there. For a Florida defensive line that can't afford any more injuries, that is certainly a blow. He was on crutches after the game, and then the other injury that Florida noticeably dealt with in the Miami game was what looked like a concussion to J. Michael Sturdivant. So we may get updates on those today, like I said, but knowing Billy Napier, I wouldn't expect any divulgence of information until the availability report a week from today.
Yeah. Chris in Mayaka says on the Titan of our text line, maybe DJ's in a boot because he knows he's affecting his stock this year and will redshirt so he can transfer for a new start next year. If that's the case, that's the case. I would not worry about it. Graham, I mean, what's their schedule? I know usually during a bye week they have X amount of days off and only practice a couple of days. Kids can go home for the weekend. Do you have any idea what their schedule is?
Yeah, very similar. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They're going to be working on a lot of internal improvements. That is the biggest thing. Getting DJ more comfortable, more reps was certainly a focus going into this week. Obviously, you don't want it to be too competitive to the point where you're risking further injuries during the bye week, but Florida has to practice as much as they can. They can't rest on their laurels, even though they don't have a competitor to face this upcoming week. They have a lot of improvements to make. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they'll be in the facility again, I believe on Friday, before having that weekend for guys to go home before returning on Sunday to begin preparing for a Texas team, which certainly has their own issues, but is a talented team in its own right.
Text from Jimmy in Williston says, Graham, has the offensive line been a big disappointment for you this year?
A big disappointment? I don't know if I'd say that. I do think that there are some things that they can clean up. The penalties are undesirables, of course. A lot of those holding calls are ticky-tacky, questionable calls, a split second late release, at the launch point where there are things that, guys around the offensive line can do better. You have a mobile quarterback who is rolling out and guys have to let go. Those are the ones that I think can be cleaned up and fixed. The ones that I would criticize are the false starts, of course, the some of the procedural penalties as well. But I think Florida's offensive line still is not the problem. They're talented guys. They have 3 redshirt seniors. Austin Barber and Jake Slaughter are as good of a left tackle center duo as you're going to find in the country. If we're harping on Florida's issues, I think they have bigger ones than the offensive line. But when you're a team like Florida right now and you have a smaller margin for error than a lot of people thought coming into the season, everything is going to be questioned, from the play calling to the play of the quarterback to the defense needing to be perfect to get more takeaways, to play better than they even were. People are going to say, hey, we need to do this, this, and this better. When Florida is not able to have the success offensively that they are having, people are going to look at every single position and say, well, these guys need to be better for us to be better. That is raising the bar, absolutely. And I do think that if you had, a quarterback who was going out there throwing for 300 yards and completing, 22 of 28 passes consistently and hitting guys downfield and sensing pressure and stepping up in the pocket, not taking negative plays, the list goes on. People wouldn't be sitting here criticizing the offensive line. So I hate to use coach speak, but Billy Napier's right. When a quarterback gets too much credit and too much blame a lot of the time, I think you can say for the offensive line that they're getting too much blame outside of the penalties for Florida's offensive woes right now.
Yeah, it's a combination of everything. This text on the Titan and More text line for both of us from Dave and Macon says, if Billy's firing is inevitable by season's end, what would be your timing strategy in order to preserve the current roster, specifically Ball and Jackson and other key players? I said this, if Billy is not our coach next year, I don't care how long it takes to get the right guy. I don't care if that guy is coaching in the national championship game, because we all know when coaching searches happen, there's always conversation going on throughout the year. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what players you leave. I think this would be the most important hire for Florida Gator football since they hired Steve Spurrier, in my opinion. I could be in the minority there. Graham, what do you think? Dave's question, how do you want to answer that?
I agree 100%. And I think part of that is because look at the timeline that Florida has had to identify the guy. This isn't just something that happened overnight. They've had more than a year to be kicking the tires, reaching out to agents, getting a sense of what the market is going to be for a coach. Because go back to last year, Florida starts 1-2. There's calls for Napier. You got the vote of confidence in November. They've had a year to prepare for being in this situation. So they've had chances to talk to agents, to understand who could be available, regardless if they make the college football playoff or not. And so there should really be no excuse for finding the right guy. I made the comparison recently that this is far different of a situation than Jim McElwain, because McElwain was coming off of, double-digit winning seasons and was impressive, and then everything kind of just quickly fell apart. The death threats, obviously you have a situation where they had the credit card fraud scandal. Florida misses a game due to a hurricane. They start 3-5, and until about 2-3 months before that, Florida wasn't looking at the notion of hiring a new coach. They had extended Jim McElwain, so it made sense that Scott Strickland relied a little bit on the familiarity that he had with Dan Mullen, and in making a hire to kind of get their ducks in a row when this was something that kind of blindsided them in a way. This is not the case here with Billy Napier. They have had considerable time to talk to guys like Jimmy Sexton, agents out there, to understand who could be available, to make competitive offers, and to talk to them behind the scenes. And I'm with you that even if you're not, regardless of the timeline of firing Billy Napier, if you understand that you're going to part ways even after the season, you can be having someone in place and still want Napier to coach as long as possible and a chance to keep the roster together because of how well liked he is by the players, the recruits as well, and keeping him as long as possible. In that sense, people have said that that's jeopardizing the roster. I don't really buy into that notion because there are so many people who committed to him who still have a positive opinion about him. And the longer that you keep him there, the longer time you're going to have this roster together, and the portal's not going to open for 30 days. All this work should be done behind the scenes rather than let's fire him now and send a statement and get someone in place before the end of the season. I don't buy into that notion.
Yeah, and Erod here on YouTube talked about Claude Plumman says the issue that is the timing of the portal. Again, I don't care. I don't even know when the portal opens up. It's a one deal now. When does that portal open up, Graham?
It got moved to January. So
okay, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If your coach is in the playoffs, or if your coach is coaching the bowl game, or even if he's coaching the national title game, it does not matter. I don't think people realize there are so many good players around America. I have always talked about this. The Gator fans only focus on who's on their roster, right? You use the quarterback position, for example. There's two really good quarterbacks that play for Texas Tech University. I'm not saying I'd want to go get them. I'm just saying, look at Ole Miss. They have a guy from Ferris State. Good coaches will find the players they need for their system in year one through the portal. So I just think it's imperative that whoever they hire, if they are to hire a new coach, they have to make sure this dude is going to make us relevant in year one. And I think there's a handful of guys that can do that. So that's my 2 cents. Graham, defensively this year, we talked about it. They've played really well. Got a lot of injuries. What are they going to do defensive line-wise with all these injuries?
I mean, that's a good question. I think that you're going to be relying on a lot of guys who were working with your second, if not your third string unit throughout the spring and fall camp. You're going to have to play Joseph Mbachu, 20 plus snaps in a game if Brendan Bett is significantly injured. Jamari Lyons has had a good season. Got to make sure he stays healthy. Tyreek Sapp has been really good. Hopefully for Florida, they get George Gums Jr. back against Texas. He was close to being able to go on Saturday, was ultimately ruled out. I don't think it's going to be something that keeps him out. Final year of his collegiate career, he's going to do everything he can to play, has a chance to go make some serious money at the next level if he keeps playing the way he is. I think you'll get him back. And then Cam James is playing really well also. And, maybe a return for LJ McRae is going to happen at some point after he suffered, that broken metatarsal against USF. But they're going to have to rely on the freshmen. They're going to have to rely on guys like Brian Taylor Jr. Tarverese Brown has to be available if they need him in a pinch. They're going to not be able to maybe rotate as much as they want. And the optimistic perspective is a lot of guys are going to get, significant reps. But this was already a unit that I felt was missing one or two depth pieces that they could have needed coming into the season. Now they've had injuries to, Banks, Bett, Mekhi Barrow. I think that, he hasn't had surgery to my knowledge. I would expect him to come back at some point in the near future. That would be big for Florida's interior defensive line. But everything, we just been talking about, give Florida's defensive line credit for the way they played against Miami, despite missing so many pieces. That is a little bit further down the list of issues for Florida. But if they take a couple more, then it absolutely becomes an area of concern.
All right, before we get you out of here, we got a bunch of texts. A lot of people in the Titan MR text line want to know who you think the Gators will go after, maybe your top three on your list or what you're hearing. And most of them say there's no way we can take a chance on an up-and-comer, a group of five type coach. I agree with that. Your thoughts, Graham?
Yeah, I would agree with that right now. I don't think that you're in a mindset of going out and trying to find the next Urban Meyer or someone who you want to be here for a decade. How often do coaches even last, a decade in this profession at one place? They're probably trying to move up to the NFL. And let's give Billy Napier some credit. A lot of the systems, to use the coach speak, are in place for a coach to come in here and be successful. They've had good recruiting classes. They've got a promising young quarterback, two promising young quarterbacks in Tramel Jones and DJ Lagway. You've got talent at pretty much every single position, especially the skill positions. You can get a guy like Kurt Signetti to come in and get, 5, 6 good years out of him in theory, and it could elevate your play absolutely. And if it's not someone like him, I could see someone like Rhett Lashley, or, a hot name is Marcus Freeman. I do think that Marcus Freeman's interesting because he's a Midwest guy, played at Ohio State, probably wants to make it to the NFL at some point. All of his ties are in the Midwest region. He's recruited that area, but maybe the next step for him is coming down to the SEC and competing down here. I think it'd be a very interesting hire. Those would be the three that I would think make the most sense right now. I'm gonna go ahead and dismiss, in my opinion, the notion of, a guy like Dan Lanning or some of the other names out there that I've heard. But those three that I mentioned would probably be the closest to quote unquote home run hires for doing what you just said, Shane. Having Florida not have a drop off, not have an extended rebuild, be able to be more competitive in 2026 if that was one of the hires they made.
Yeah. Any specials y'all got going on right now?
Just doing a 30% right now. We're going to have a special closer to basketball season. And then on Black Friday, I know it feels like forever away, but it'll get here before we know it. We're going to do our best year deal of the year, 75% off. Ton of content at Swamp 247, columns, basketball content. If you're checking out on football, come and check out the basketball coverage and talk with us. 40 days until the season. It's an exciting time. So we'd love to have you be a member of our community. And obviously can't wait to be back here and talk more Florida football and hopefully a little basketball here with you too, Shane.
Absolutely. Graham, appreciate your time. Have a good off week, and we'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Y'all take care out there.
Yep, that's Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Meopolis Cafe, proud to support Gator Nation for 22 years. New location, opening in Alachua, a new building, same great food, and served with a smile. Check out one of their 5 locations today. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Record